Okay. Hello to Gatherings of Truth. I'm Tanya Hallis, and Ellie will be coming on soon, and this is our weekly meeting. Um, let me just add her in here. I see she's wanting to be logged in. Morning, morning, morning.
Good morning.
I've got us recording.
Yeah, I was going to tell you that you would be the one who has to do it unless you gave me permission because you're the host. So only the host can record. I just found
Nice.
that out.
Oh, okay. Well, here we are. And I do have a video for us to watch,
Okay.
but I figured we'd say hi first.
How are you doing?
I'm doing good, thank you. And you?
I'm doing really good. Yeah, I feel much better about our 30-day challenges. They've been going a lot better than I ever could have
Yeah.
guessed a week ago, which is how it always is, but the mind is finally starting to get it that it's not right about anything,
Yeah.
about how anything's gonna work out. Um, it's just become that much more clear to me that our minds are always going off of past experiences, and that feels really compelling because it's basically a survival mechanism,
Mm.
which is why it feels so compelling and which is why there's so much resistance to going in another direction because it feels unsafe. And the idea of going from kind of expecting bad things to happen, like from a negativity standpoint, to shifting that um, to maybe things will be wildly better than I ever could have imagined. That just seemed like a huge leap, you know? But we have the tools to do it, even though
Hmm.
it seems that way, like it seems unattainable.
Yeah.
It's not unattainable because it's actually realigning with our true nature. So it's not as impossible as it appears. So the first couple of days of the conscious imagining challenge, or even going back to last month when we had an aborted attempt to do it because I just had a total mental freak out about it. It felt absolutely impossible. And it felt terrible. Like there were all these negative emotions surfacing and all these feelings of well, if I look back now, it was basically like I can't have what I want. I've given up on that. You're telling me I need to like undo giving up on that. I can't do that, you know.
Mm.
Um, and of course there was really a sense of there needing to be something to do, when really it is just allowing and more than a doing. So, yeah, it's starting to become really fun. The conscious imagining in particular is starting to become really fun, which I wasn't anticipating. I wasn't anticipating it feeling real, um, because I had such a strong story that I can't have these things, that I
Mm.
can't expect good things to happen, basically. That's not safe to expect good things to happen, that I already feel bad. And if I expect something good and then that doesn't happen and it's not going to happen, then it's going to feel even worse. Why would I want to feel even worse than I already feel? I already feel completely terrible. It was basically something like that. Um, and that's largely dissolved, I have been doing around a contemplation question around it for the last 3 weeks or so. But yeah, it's gotten to the point where I do the contemplation question in the morning, and the question is it really true that it isn't safe to expect good things to happen? And now when I say, like in the beginning, when I would say that, it was just like, yeah, it's true, you know how it is. And now when I do, it's just like I can feel that like I'm not just questioning it anymore. I've got come over to the other side where it's like, yeah, not only is it safe, but it's completely natural to expect
Mm.
good things to happen, because because good things want to happen, and it's only
Yeah,
our expectations that sort of block that from coming in, basically.
yeah, yeah. I did too. Like 3 days ago, I also started a contemplation, and I have not done contemplations in uh, long time. I don't even remember. And I don't know. I just felt this. I guess this desire to. Well, I got all these journals now, like I told you before, like everywhere, right?
Yeah.
And I saw the contemplation one. I haven't done anything with it. And then one day, just 3 days ago, I sat down and I just started writing. Like, I'll tell you, actually, I just started writing all kinds of questions. Like, they just started just, it's like if I was going to do a contemplation, what kind of things have I seen? And there was like, is it really true I'm not safe? Is it really true I'm limited? Is it really true I can't get what I want? Is it really true I'm not good enough? Which are all, the ones from Helen, which,
Yeah,
have played out in their own little way here,
for
and
sure.
then there
Yeah,
was
that plays
like,
out for everyone.
then I had these other ones that it came up on their own, like for me, which was, is it really true resting and being is enough and all will be added unto me from here? And that came to me a long time ago, and I was doing that one for quite some time. And then again, is it really true I'm powerless? I'm not supported by life. I can't
Mm,
trust myself. Uh, I
that's a good
liked I
one.
liked it this one. Is it really true that where I see from and what I see are separate?
Ooh.
Right?
Oh, that's very good.
I
Yeah, that
can't
really,
remember where I seen that. Either it was in a challenge or something
yeah.
Helen had said lately. I can't remember. And I wrote it down as a question. And there was, is it true I need to fear the flow of life? That was one I
Mm.
actually started contemplating 3 days ago. And
Oh, I might take that one.
right, because that
That's
that is
good.
a
Yeah,
theme, right?
for
There
sure.
is still
Yeah.
fear, you know, with life. There's,
Yep.
that, I don't know why, but there still is. And so
Because
that
it's
was one.
surfacing finally where you can see it. That's one of the deepest unconscious energies,
Yeah.
that
And I
fear of life itself.
I felt that kind of also encompassed, where me and you have talked before too, even as recently, that I feel like I can't trust myself, right?
Yep.
That means my intuition. That means if I can't trust myself, then I don't trust my beingness. There's
Right.
something there that doesn't,
Yes.
there's a disconnect there. So I figured that question kind of
Yeah, that's a very good
came
one.
around as a whole. So I did start with that one
Oh,
3 days
good.
ago. And then I have is it really true I'm not already awakened? Um,
I like that one too.
is it really true anything here needs to change? Is
Beautiful.
right? Is there a person doing something here? Uh,
Mm,
is it really true I can do anything or about something here?
mm,
Um, is it really true the dream state and awakened state are the same thing? That one just came up, remember, out of my dreams the other day, just the
mm.
other week or whatever. Um, is it really true the watcher of dreams is the same fear of the awakened state? I liked
Say
that
that one
one.
again.
Is it really true the watcher of dreams is the same seer of the waking state?
Ooh. Mm.
And is it really true without a form? What am I? It's a black hole or a nothing.
Oh, that one is good. Can you say that again?
Is it really true without a form? What I am is a black hole of nothingness.
Ooh, Yeah, that one hits because that
So
was
these
something that I have had a lot of resistance around, like it was and I don't hear people talk about it enough, like the actual fear of sitting with the emptiness,
that came up for both of us, like in
Yeah.
that one freak out I had, remember? A while
Yeah.
back, it was like,
And it
there's
was
nothing
very,
here. There's
yeah.
nothing. It's
And I was
like,
like, this is familiar because this has been going on for some years for me now. Like for me, that was like from the very beginning of, I've heard people do experience it differently. I know there are people who encounter non-dual teachings for the first time and they just instantly feel a liberation and a like, oh, this is amazing and wonderful. And for me, there was always a lot of fear that came up, a lot of resistance, a lot of like on some level, there's no questioning of this. Like I know it's true. I know I trust these teachers completely. They're coming from a different place from anyone else I've ever encountered, and I can sense that and I trust it. But but I can't seem, this is what was sort of the experience was I can't seem to access what they're talking about because when when I when I sit down and feel that there's no person, like with self-inquiry, that there's no person there, it felt terrifying because of what you're saying. It's like, well then, and when people, even when people would talk about like the formless oneness that we are being everywhere, that still felt like well, what good is that to me? Kind of like, it felt so alien. And and it's become really clear, and this is why I think that contemplation question is so good, is because what I didn't see, could not see at the time was that I could see it to some extent, but it's just become clear as the mind has sort of subsided that that is the mental perception, and as long as the mind is what is consulted to tell us what's real, um, as long as we don't feel okay until the mind has figured something out, which was a very much of entrenched lifelong
yeah.
habit, for me and for many people, there was just it was really difficult just relaxing into that. And it's only been in recent weeks even that there's been it's actually even in the last week with this conscious imagining challenge and experiencing that shift of, but really it was, the dissolving the doer challenge that was before it. I think that's why it's been kind of in the works for a few weeks. Yeah, it's been a profound shift because of seeing that clearly, those direct teachings of seeing like, look, there is nobody here doing anything. Because even though I had accepted the fact of like, okay, there's no separate person, um, we're all one. There was still something that was really, there was a lot of energy still going into that feeling of like, I'm the one who thinks about what I want to do and then I do it. And I can see why that was a threatening idea because it does dissolve your entire experience of even your whole life, basically, like your whole story, not just the stories that we accept aren't true, the stories of being a victim or stories about whatever, like not just the specifics of the story, but all of it has to be seen through a new lens, when we're not a doer, then like every choice you've ever seemed to have made, every interaction you seem to have had with another being, like all of that is where the mind gets its stability from in
Mhm.
terms of like, this is where I've come from, this is where I am, this is where I'm going. And it feels safe, even if it's a really unhappy story, it's a story that gives the mind the
Yeah.
solidity that it longs for. And that starts to break down. And it's only Yeah, it's only very recently that that's wanted to break down for a while, but there was still so much fear would come up and then more fear would come up and it would just be like, I don't know how to proceed with all this fear, and then at some point the questioning of it, like you're talking about, um, it's like, what is the fear telling me? The way Helen teaches us to do is like, what is the fear telling me? What is the story behind the fear? And then
Mhm.
is that story true? And the more it's questioned, which is why I think that's such a great contemplation question, because as soon as you start to consistently question it in that way, it loses its charge.
So the questions I decided to work with, I got two actually on the go, is it really true I'm not supported by life?
I love that.
Because I notice there is still language sometimes of feeling of not being supported,
Yeah,
so I thought, well, that was a good question. And the other one was, is it really true I need to fear life? Because there have been a lot of times in my life where bad things have seemed to have happened. So it's
yeah,
like, can I even trust, that 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 if I
yeah,
follow this stream of life, and that good things are going to come from that, not bad things. So
yeah, exactly.
there is still fear coming up in
Yep.
that. Just so I'm working with those two, but there are a couple of other that definitely, that black hole of nothingness is probably on my to-do list.
Yeah,
um, you know, I just kind of
yeah,
write them as they come up all by themselves, and then I figure I'll work with two at a time, and
yeah.
when it's time for a new question, then I'll look at the list, and whatever seems to pop out at the time, I'll work with it. But
I love that. That sounds
um,
like that's powerful.
right,
Yeah,
but I just save some pages so I just can write some down, periodically as they're coming up. And I do notice, like, I do notice there is still a little bit of resistance to fear of really looking at it.
yeah. That's why
Not
the
not
contemplation
always,
questions
but
are so powerful. Yeah,
sometimes. So, the two working with fear, I'm still noticing that there is still residue of fear to some capacity that's still popping up here, still popping up there a little bit. And I thought, well, I'm gonna
yeah,
work with the ones that have fear in them, because
yeah. I
that's
mean, when
still
you
coming
think of
up.
like that has to be one of the most primal um energies, that it seems like it has to be one of the foundational building blocks of the ego itself, if not
Fear and
the,
safety. Uh,
yeah, it's what
I mean, all the
it's
videos I listen to, even Gunga G, like, she even talks about, and she even says, like, the two most primal things across the board, guaranteed, doesn't matter who you are, that you're dealing with, is going to be, everything derives from fear, everything,
yeah,
and safety of this
yeah,
person. You know, I
yeah.
recently watched the video of her. Actually, I think it was this morning. It came into my mailbox. Not the one I want to share, but um, in her title, she was talking about everybody is in this religion called me,
Mm,
and um, that is across the human board. Everybody's, been born
yeah.
into this religion of myself, me.
Wow. Yeah. And it's so much of it is an unconscious religion that,
Yeah, and
yeah.
it all derives from all issues derive from fear, and
Yeah.
all
And this,
issues. are feeling safe. I need to feel safe. I need
Yes.
reassurance about this so I can feel safe. I need to do this or make this choice so I can be safe. I
Yeah.
can't go that way. I've even fell into this one after finding Helen. I can't do that because if I do that, there's no safety net there,
Yeah.
right? Like it's all fear and safety. And I mean, that's
For sure.
primal. I
It
mean, go
is.
back to
Yeah.
when we were living in caves and that
Yeah.
was it. Fear kept us alive and safe.
Yeah. And if you think about our development as human beings, like the root of all suffering, if you look at the root of all suffering, it is that illusion of separation. And where does that come from? It comes from that feeling of not being safe. I need to protect myself. So like there's a world out there, there's other people out there, there's like these large humans walking around in my space when I'm a small child, and they're not coming to take care of me when I'm crying, or they're not, or there's like, there's something that's sensed by that totally vulnerable little tiny baby that and then, as the years go on, there's yeah, that gets reinforced in adulthood. When we do go through these traumatic experiences, it gets solidified into this like, I'm so separate from, like, I feel so separate from other people. And there's all these strategies to try to make that okay, to
Yeah.
look for security from various external things in life. And it's only when that starts to break down that we start to go inward and are like, what is this? What is this like, um, what is this that keeps being so deeply unsatisfying? Like every time I go to find that security, I don't find it. And then when you encounter non-dual teachers and they're just exuding this total peace, and it's like, okay, that's clearly what I'm actually looking for, is to not be afraid of anything. That would change this whole experience of life
Right.
if there could be no fear. But then there's still some things that have to be seen, there for me, and I think for a lot of people, it's that sense of like not being worthy of it, like feeling like because there's still that doer at play, there's that sense of like, well, I need to learn to meditate the way they learn to meditate, and then I'll be able to have what they have, which is totally coming from a place of separation still. But it takes a while for that to be seen often, and it's not until that all of the separation breaks down. And it is with the things like contemplation questions and just directly questioning each belief as it comes up of like, well, is this really true? And I remember that night that we were talking and I was feeling that like really intense contraction of feeling so separate from everything, and it felt so real. Um, and there was just like, from that point on, there was a wanting to understand that, like, how can what feels so real not be real? Um, because it's confusing to the mind. The mind, you know, feels like it knows what's real. And yeah, it can be really disorienting and really
Mm-hmm.
disconcerting too.
For me
Um,
too, like I think we've talked about this a little bit. This this fear and safety issue, like I've often had, even, back in the day when I kind of lost the plot there for a little bit, like there I didn't even feel safe inside of myself. Like I
yeah,
didn't feel safe with my own thoughts. I didn't feel
yeah,
safe with my own choices. Like it wasn't even
yeah,
at one point all of that out there, it started also reflecting like, okay, it's really dangerous out there, but right now it's not even safe in
Oh,
here.
yeah.
Like I
Oh, for
feel really
sure.
unsafe in my own body right now. I can't trust my thoughts and what they're saying
Yeah.
to me. I
Oh,
can't
that's when
trust
life becomes
how I'm
intolerable.
feeling,
Yeah.
right? And
But
there were
it's
so
for a
many people in
purpose.
the Winky ward that were, you know, having that same kind of experience of not even being safe in their own person. And then to come to find out through these teachings that there's actually no person here.
Right, right.
Like it was like, what? You
Yeah.
know, and for me there was a relief for me that there was no person because I didn't like this person. I didn't want to be this
Mhm.
person. This person had suffered greatly through its
Yeah.
lifetime. And it's like, oh my God, there's no person. Like, holy shit. And then it hit me that something about me, and that really propelled me forward. Something about me had never been touched by anybody.
Yeah.
And, you know, as a person that had been abused and raped, that was like huge
Yeah.
when that hit me that there's something about me that actually has never been touched by anyone or anything. And that was empowering for me.
Mm.
But, however, you know, when I started walking down that path, and then what was it now? Just a couple of weeks ago, we're really steeped in, when the tangibility of things just kind of were, they just kind of disappeared, throughout that day periodically. We talked about that. It was like I knew that the essence of things was the same essence that I am. But when things really started to lose tangibility, not just myself, but everything else,
Yeah.
that was, I think that's where that one question
That black
came
hole of
from. Yeah,
nothingness.
black half the
Yeah.
whole. Yeah, it was like, holy shit, there really is nothing here. It's not just no person. There's nothing. There's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
absolutely nothing. Like, and through us talking together and really looking at things, especially that plant over there. I seem to like go to that one plant for some specific reason. I don't know why, but it's like that's not true. The mind is perceiving there's a black hole of nothing because that's what the mind sees. That is of the mind, but that is
Yeah.
actually it isn't a black hole of nothing.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It feels that way
It
to
feels
the
that way,
mind. Yeah.
and it may always feel that way to the mind, and that's okay because the mind is dual, but it's
Yes.
actually not a black hole of nothing. And as time has gone on in the past couple of weeks or so, like there's been a real richness that has
Mm.
come from things losing their tangibility.
Mm.
Like now I kind of just get lost looking at things. There's like this depth to them now.
Mm.
And I
Yeah.
knew their essence was no different than my essence, but I think something just penetrated even deeper because there are
Yeah.
times now when I do look at just things and I just get caught looking at them, but it's almost like I'm seeing what it is, but there's something so much more deeper there that seems to
Yeah.
be it, and I get lost to that sometimes now. So it's not that there's like this black hole of nothingness. That's so far from the truth. It's just how the mind perceives it. But on further inquiry and really, really looking, that
Yeah,
there is this richness there, there's this depth there to even inanimate
yeah,
objects that
because
just
you're
has
still
some
seeing
depth.
yourself.
Yeah,
That becomes a deeper, um, it becomes experiential, and it's not just conceptual. It's not just yeah, and then the mind can be doing what the mind is doing, but there is something what the mind can't see is that anything exists other than itself, really. Like
yeah,
it really is completely kind of like turned in on itself, and it's just seeing everything through that. And it doesn't see that this like infinite reality that that actually exists um cannot actually be threatening because it is what we really are. It's the truth of who we really are. And that's when the habit of the attention just going to the mental activity and that gets redirected, and more the attention wants to rest on this so-called nothingness because
yeah.
it's it's recognizing itself. Like like it is consciousness recognizing
Recognizing
itself.
itself.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And there is like at some point the mind does get quieter because the safety that it wants is actually here. Like it's and for me it's been the settling down of this like desire to figure it out with the mind, to understand things with the mind. And like that's been breaking down for a while, but it's like there was still something like wanting to hold on to it out of fear. And yeah, it's being willing to just see it directly, and as that starts to sink in that nothing bad is going to happen, that it's only going to lead to more peace and joy, and that life might still look completely the same for a while, but there's a different experience of it. Like the mind's habit of always, like we just started talking about in the beginning, the mind's habit of always going to the past, um, to judge like what is going to happen. And that's why like as we accumulate traumatic experiences in life, there is a tendency to become more and more self-protective because it's an automatic response. It's an instinctive response every time something bad happens, which just means something that causes um, like an intensification of this illusion of separation. It's what causes the feeling um, of suffering, and there becomes a more and more of a sense of like I can't take any more. Like I have to protect myself even more and even
yeah,
more. But at some point that does go in the other direction because it's just clear, like it's become clear just even in the last couple of weeks um that what we're learning with the conscious imagining challenge, what we learned initially with the abundance challenge, that was all um like starting to see that the mind's model of reality is just wildly wrong, so the mind always looks first to um what it doesn't like that's here right now, and
Hmm.
that's what feels the most real is all of these it just seems to have this go-to strategy of looking at what's in the environment, whether that's the internal environment or the external environment, and saying like, I don't like this, I don't want this. And I know for me, when I was younger, that would lead to all these actions in the world of like trying to fix things or trying to fix things in myself, like trying
Yeah.
to create the life that I wanted, trying to create the person that I thought I wanted to be. And and as that became more and more clear that doesn't, I mean, it takes life kind of falling apart a lot of times for that to really sink in of like, yeah, that's not working. That's not actually
Yeah.
working anymore. For me, it felt like that's not working anymore because there was a sense earlier that it was working. Now it's clear that that was just how life was sort of destined to unfold, was that things seemed to be going okay for a certain time, and I felt like I was making the right decisions and making certain things happen.
Hmm.
And then at some point, even though I was doing all the same things, it stopped working. I stopped being able to make money. I stopped being able to have friends. I stopped being able to to feel yeah, it was just like everything fell apart. Like, and for a long time that felt like I was failing and I didn't understand it, but but at some point it's what sort of paved the way for accepting that there was never a doer. That was always just the mind's perception of what was happening.
Hmm.
Um, and that it is, even though it doesn't feel like it at the time, it is a good thing when that falls apart because it's only an illusion that's falling apart, and that gets replaced with the truth, which is better than anything we could have imagined. And so at some point in the last week, that just there was I think it was like day 4 maybe, where like the first 3 days, there was still this total resistance. And if you remember, I would leave a message of only like 2 or 3 minutes because I
Yeah.
was just had, I was like, well, but there was an acceptance of that. There was a refusal to judge it. And it was just like, okay, I'm committed to doing this for 30 days. I already quit once. And, there's just something inside you that says like, it's come back around again. If I quit again, I can tell it's
Yeah.
gonna come back around again. So you might as well just face it. Um, but there was really this sense of like, well, I'll just do the bare minimum every day and get through it. And you know, we'll just do that and we'll just see what happens. And there was a willingness to just see what happens, basically. Helen is always emphasizing how good it feels eventually. And that was where a lot of this wall of resistance was coming up for me because it was like, it feels terrible. I don't want
Yeah.
to imagine things being better. But of course, that led to a curiosity of like, why? Why is that? It wasn't always that way. And that was where that finding that hidden belief of it just isn't safe. It's going to feel worse when, not if, but when it doesn't work out the way I expect it to. Um, and at some point, it's just like, I think it was like day 3 or 4 that I noticed it. I noticed that it felt good to do it. Like, there was a sense of that was actually fun. Um, that was fun to imagine, and it was something that I found wholly unattainable. It was like I start doing yoga again. Not only do I start doing yoga again, but I start doing it in a at at a public classes in a studio, which I was never able to do. Always did it at home because I had so much resistance to, I mean, I went to a few public classes, but there was a real fear of other people and of being able to sustain that yeah, and having any kind of commitment like that of showing up
Mm.
publicly in any kind of especially in recent years, there was more and more fear that kept surfacing more and more. Uh, but it was interesting because it was like, even though I couldn't see how that could happen, imagining it felt good. It felt real. Like in the moment of imagining it, of visualizing it, it felt as good as if it were, that was really what my life already was. And of course, that is what Helen tells us to do. Don't worry about the how, just focus on what feels good to imagine. And yeah, now I'm really having fun because it's like the more I do it, the more like something happened even in a couple of days after that, where even when I wasn't conscious imagining, when I was just going about my day, there was a feeling of like that heaviness that I've been carrying around for like years at this point of waking up every morning and being like, okay, I'm facing another day of still being desperately unhappy and lonely and feeling completely powerless to change anything or um, even expect anything better. Like I realized that that was dissolving, and there was just a sense of like, yeah, life is totally okay right now. Like it's like what Helen says about in the book Now That You Are Formless, asking yourself that question, how would this affect me if I were formless? Because it's only the mind that perceives things as
Mhm.
problems. And that just it's become more and more clear that that's true, that whatever, and again, the mind has that tendency to look at things like my car doesn't start, I don't have very much money in the bank, I don't have very much income coming in, I don't have the energy to fix any of these problems, so I'm just stuck. I don't leave my house anymore. I don't even try. I don't exercise anymore. I'm not healthy anymore. Like that was what was kind of going through my mind all the time was like just this feeling of having lost everything and not knowing how to get it back. But that's where, the conscious imagining I think was so powerful because it just like it takes that kind of downward spiral and it's kind of sends that energy in the other direction
Mm.
of and it snuck up on me that it would actually feel so good that on some level, I mean that's the thing, on some level we do know that it's all attainable and there's nothing to fear because we are already that, we are already the infinite self.
Yeah,
So there's something about
I can still feel.
yeah, there's just something about there's something about having so much intense resistance and feeling so miserable and to have it turn around so quickly that made all of these residual doubts just kind
Mm.
of dissolve, if that makes sense. It's like there's just like the mind can't go there anymore because it's because that's why it like doesn't even matter if the specifics of what I'm consciously imagining play out exactly the way I'm it doesn't matter because I already feel like that, like feeling good when that felt impossible, it makes it that much more clear that it's already here, it's already so, like it's already there is yeah, I don't know. It's hard to put into words, but all I know is that it's getting better each day. And that was
Mhm.
something that there was actually doubt about. I've heard Helen say that there's a point in your awakening um that it gets a little better each day. It gets a little clearer each day. You see a little bit more deeply each day. And a little bit more fear dissolves, all of that. And it's like it's interesting because I can see the story that I had, which was that's not happening for me, but that doesn't happen for me. It was like for me, there was the experience of like sometimes I would feel better for a few days, but then I would feel worse. And now, like, and so the story that I unearthed that was sort of driving that experience was this sense of it's not safe to expect good things to happen. And as that was contemplated every day, I think that helped dissolve the belief in that, the belief that that's how life has to show up for me is what the mind was
Mhm.
saying. Like for this person that I am, that's how life has been, and so that's how it will keep being. And even with the sense of a person dissolving, that story was still floating around, and it was still showing up in how life was showing up. And I don't know how to explain how I know that that's gone, that but I do. And so when I conscious imagine now, it's like, yeah, I genuinely look forward to it. Like and now it's just so fun because I'm going on a road trip with my friend Tanya and we're going to a retreat and we're going to meet our teacher. And yeah, and there's no that feeling of this can't happen for me. I'm not ready for it. I'm not worthy yet. I'm not like whatever it was that was driving that separation of like it might happen out there for all of these other beings, but there's something here that's just going to stay stuck. Like that's just dissolving. And yeah, there's just like a lightness to life. And it's just there's just like a um yeah, there's just like an okayness with it. And like when the mind kind of comes in is like, well, how is that going to happen? You're not going to know what to do. You're not going to be able to handle it. You don't have enough energy. You don't have the funds. You don't have the resources. It's just like it does. That's what now doesn't feel real.
Mhm.
And what I'm conscious imagining feels real. And we did like even when we were learning that in the abundance challenge that like when our desires show up that it's actually already here, that's
Mhm.
there's like the mind's model of reality is of seeing what's here now that we don't like and we don't want, and that's what feels most real. Yeah, that's actually starting to be more experiential. Like it was conceptual at first with the abundance challenge. Like, okay, I get that. Okay, I had never thought of it that way, but that makes sense. If the desire is showing up, then it must already be showing up in that form, and it's just a matter of time before it shows up in the 3D. Now, like even without seeing that fully unfold, like it's like there's something here that knows that that's how
Mhm.
it's going to be. So,
I'm
so
having the opposite experience.
with the
I
conscious
am,
imagining,
I sure am.
yeah,
I am having bouts of when it feels really good and it almost feels like it's actually like really happened. But for the most part, that's not happening.
yeah,
And I think for me, something else is afoot.
Mm.
Because when I had that one freak out, where that was like, when I thought I made the right decision and then everything
Yes.
started, but, you know, this half-baked kind of situation kind of came about. And then there was like this real drastic contrast to being really in the pain body and really
Yeah.
suffering, and something something there actually wanted to stay there.
Yes, that's the thing.
And there was a
That needs to
noticing
be
that
seen. Yeah.
that was familiar, right? To be in this
Yes.
horrible place. And it was like, but then spaciousness was also there. And I was so present
Yeah.
that it I kept getting something about me kept getting drawn into it. It was like, and then all of a sudden there was peace, even though there was still
Yes.
massive contraction in the body,
Yeah.
and there was like this huge pendulum felt like my being was like whoa, and then
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
whoa, and it was like what is this then, like what is this then,
Yeah.
and that
Yeah.
was a profound space for me to be in, to
Yeah.
see that, to experience that contrast. And then just, I think now a couple of weeks ago, when that one line in the challenge hit me, you know, and this thought that I had of, everything being of my essence, and then suddenly form just disintegrated and just kept
Yeah.
disintegrating that whole day. And it was like, it was completely discombobulating for a little bit. And I think for me, safety, fear, trust have always been a companion that have not went well.
Yeah.
And I think both of these experiences started really showing me, for me personally, that there is only formlessness, and that even though forms are appearing and they seem to be here, actually they're really not. And this this going deeper into the intangibility of stuff, of things, and that includes thought, that includes feelings, that includes this body, like that's all things. There's something in that I feel like is falling away.
Yes.
And maybe on some level that's affecting the conscious imagining, because the conscious imagining, it's like it's kind of showing me where maybe it's pointless, or
Mm. Right.
I can lose more the more I imagine, or the more good that comes to me,
Mm.
I have more to lose. Like,
That's
at least if
interesting.
I
Yeah.
stay small, what little bit
Yeah.
I have wouldn't be
Mm.
as bad that if I got everything I wanted and all of a sudden it disappeared or I
Yes,
lost it.
exactly. Yep.
And I think it's like causing this, not a block, but this struggle with
Yeah.
imagining more for myself.
Yeah.
And that's fine, because it is showing me something. It is showing me that. But at the same time, behind the scenes, let's say, I also have this thing that's playing out where things are drastically losing their tangibility. Like, I can look at something, I see something is there, but what I'm seeing that now more and more each day is that that thing really isn't there. So, and that's a good thing that I have this contrast actually, because it's really essentially nothing is here. It is here, but it's not. Like essentially, first and foremost, there is only formlessness. That every time we look, that's what's there.
Yeah.
And it's not like an empty black hole of nothingness. It's just formlessness is the one constant. It's the one thing that doesn't change. It's the one
Yeah.
thing that doesn't go away. It's completely here all the time. There's nowhere where it's missing. And as that is really, really starting to deepen inside of, this body mind here, and it's seen more and more and more, these forms that I'm looking at, there's a lot of questioning going on at the moment, about, well, is it kind of like really true that if formlessness is all that actually really is essentially, it doesn't make the forms any less what they are. It just means that they're just not, they really aren't tangible. They really aren't here.
They
They
aren't what
really
the
aren't
mind says
what
they
the,
are.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're just not. And there's like this thing going on where, well, if there really isn't anything here, then what do I really have to lose?
Mm.
Like, you know what I mean? Like
Yep.
there's this, that's kind of playing itself out at the moment, like it's like, well, then really what is there to be really afraid of if the one thing, and it's not a thing, that is always here, that is always consistent, the one thing I can always count on, that when I look is never changing and never falters, and that is what I am, right? Then what is there to fear if there really isn't nothing here? What is there to fear if more came into this life? Because nothing's guaranteed, right? And I think that's where some of the fear in this body mind has come from, right?
Yeah.
Nothing here is guaranteed. I'm not guaranteed to have my husband forever. I'm not guaranteed to have the same apartment. I'm not guaranteed to have, all of the finances in my bank account that I would like. I'm not guaranteed to have my children with me. I'm not guaranteed in anything in form.
Right.
Nothing in form is guaranteed because it
Yeah.
can't be, because anything in form is ever changing, ever shifting, coming and going. The only thing that is reliable, and it's not a thing, is the
Yeah.
essence
Yeah.
that is always here, this formlessness that I am.
Yeah.
So like I do believe like there is this playing out of where form is really starting to lose its form, and this essence of everything is really starting to amp up for me each day. And there is this noticing and this kind of underlying questioning of, then you're right, you can't ever feel safe in the world of form. You can't. It's not going to happen. It's, and the mind doesn't like this. It's like it's never going to happen, because anything and everything in form is always going to come and go, change in some way. I've experienced that in life. Like I haven't always lived in the same house. I haven't always had the same finances. I haven't always had the same husband. I lived with my children once and then I didn't live with them. You know what I mean? I've
Yeah.
had people that I've lost, in form, not in essence, but in form. And it's like, if that's that's getting all caught up in the me and the my and the stuff. And
Yeah.
it's really playing out in a big way for me that you're never ever going to feel safe the way that the mind wants to feel safe in the world of form. The only thing, and it's not a thing, that can be really counted on is that there is formlessness and that never changes. And that is what I am. And that is what is here
Right.
always. You
Yeah.
know
And
what I mean?
it's
It's like,
already the case.
and it's
Yeah.
already the case.
Yeah.
Like you said, there's no changing that. That's never going to change. And everything can come and go as it's going to anyway, as it always has, right? And to have the willingness to find safety in the formlessness that I am instead of the forms that I want to keep, the forms
Right.
that I want to be here all the time. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
there's this
Right.
real drastic playing out of it's okay to not ever feel safe in the world of form because that's not guaranteed. It's never going to be guaranteed there.
Yeah. That activity of the
That's like
mind.
that's really losing the person. That is really
Right.
losing the
Yeah.
world of
That's the thing.
objectivity. That is really a letting go of everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And willingly, there's
Yeah.
it needs to be this willingness to go, it is okay to imagine, the things that you want. It's okay to, to know things that they come and go, and that you can't really find safety in that. But to have these things come towards this body mind and be okay if they leave, because there is not safety in there. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
to to really have this willingness and this openness to really let everything go on a massive scale and
Yeah.
know that nothing has to catch me because there's no me to catch. Nothing has to, you know, stay permanently because nothing is permanent. That which I am is not permanent in the realm of form. You know what I mean? It is essentially formlessness. And to trust that more, to
Yeah.
not even that I'm trusting that more, to but live as that instead
Yeah.
of this solid object here that needs
Right.
to be safe
Yeah.
in the world of form. You know
Yeah.
what I
That's
mean?
what's
There is something
happening.
really, really playing out here in
Yeah.
this
And it's happening
for
on
me.
its own.
Yeah,
But it's yeah, that intention. I mean, that's the purest thing in the world, that intention to live as the true self. Like that's powerful, you know. It's why full awakening is inevitable, because that intention is like yeah, it's so pure, and it's what wants to happen, you know. It's and I think you're so on the right track with these contemplation questions. Like that's again being like happening on its own, to be like yeah, because I hadn't done contemplation for a while either, but it became clear that you know, with the transcending the mind course, there was a realization like, oh yeah, there are still these hidden beliefs that are sort of unconsciously being believed, and I am willing to see them, to just see them from this place of awareness and allow them to dissolve. And there was a seeing that is what would happen. Like at this point, there is a point that you get to where it's like that song that Helen gave a few weeks ago about pure seeing, that that's not seeing from the mind. It's, the mind sees these stories and it's like, yeah, okay, but that's, whatever. But a pure seeing is like what you were describing earlier, where you see the contraction or you see um the belief, but it doesn't have the same staying power. It's not as compelling because there's this awareness of the peace, the spaciousness that has not gone anywhere, that's always been here, that's always been everywhere. And that is when even the most tenacious beliefs and patterns just they do dissolve on their own and you're just watching it. That's the
Yeah.
thing, you're no longer identified with it. And yeah, the contemplation, I think the contemplation working, if there's a lot of resistance toward conscious imagining, I think bringing contemplation in
Yeah.
as a sort of companion practice is really key um, because any resistance to the conscious imagining that is coming from, yeah, some kind of fear or some kind of belief of in like some kind of unworthiness. Um,
I noticed, like, even in my conscious imagining, like, there is a theme. I'm working with a theme. It's not like I actually
yes.
have to think about anything. And I've noticed, not even just in conscious imagining, but in life itself. And we've talked about this before too, that, this receiving, giving, and receiving kind of business. You know, even in conscious imagining, working with like this $10,000 a day and that it doubles every day, I'm noticing that it's easier to give it away than it is
Mm,
to imagine something for myself.
mm,
I went
interesting.
over it yesterday after I did the last one, and I'm looking at because I'm keeping a chart, a written chart every day, because that's
Okay,
how I'm
yep.
figuring out how much to that how do I accumulate this kind of money? Like, I need to write it out before I do my conscious imagining so I know where it's going. And
That makes sense. Yeah, I
it's
couldn't
just
do that math in my
right.
head.
Like, it's no, it's not going to fly. And now that it's especially getting up there, right?
Exactly.
And it's like I kind of work it out on paper, point form first. And I yesterday after, because I kind of have to go through the list too, because I'm not allowed to use it the same way twice. So I have to, when I come up with
Oh,
my ideas, then I have to go quickly through the bullet points to make sure that I haven't already done that, right?
okay.
So it
Yeah.
has to be really short and
Yeah,
sweet,
that
like
makes sense.
bullet point. And I started noticing a theme of, wow, there is such a very small percentage that I've actually even imagined
Mm,
anything for myself. I gave it all away. I've given it to everybody. There's
interesting.
like
Yeah.
very, very little there. Like, it's so small and tiny that I've actually
Mhm.
imagined for myself.
Yeah.
And I even like that also played out like months and months ago when we were doing the abundance challenge. And I noticed that, and we talked about it, that it's okay for me to give to other people even when I don't have. But for somebody to give to me, that was a problem. To receive
Yeah.
something
Even
was a
if you really
problem.
need it.
Even
Yeah.
if it was just chump change, right?
Yeah.
For my
Right.
daughter, like, no,
Yeah.
no, 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 right? So I'm starting to see how that's also playing out in this challenge that I'm currently doing, where I've given probably a good 90, probably
Yeah.
97% of it away.
Yeah. Right.
And that
Yeah.
last little
I hadn't
percentage
noticed
is
that, but yeah, you're
actually
right.
what I've
Yep.
I've imagined for myself, or whatever. And it was like, oh, this is interesting.
Yeah.
And like, there's a huge imbalance happening there. And it was just, it kind of hit me yesterday, and it was like, just this I suppose it's just coming for a circle that even though things aren't quite as tangible as they I thought they once were, and even though there is this, I can't find safety there, right?
Mm, yeah,
It is still okay for things to come this way.
right.
And I guess this is where this, I've heard other teachers talk about, entanglement with things or being attached to things. And being okay with things coming this way, but not being permanent, not being able to find safety in those things, because that's not where I'm going to find that safety. That it's okay for these intangible things to come towards this body mind
You're part of the
and be
allness.
with, yeah, I'm part of the allness, and
Yeah.
but also not get attached to them, into the, have this willingness for them to leave as well, like have this willingness and this ability for things to be okay to come, but also have it in the same aspect that it's okay for things to leave. It's okay for things to change. It's okay,
Mm,
you know what I mean? To
yeah.
even encompass, that I've always said many times, I don't do well with change, right?
Mm,
And that is very true, but changing also means things leaving, right? So there's also this
changing
noticing,
form,
yeah,
changing
changing
appearance,
form, changing appearance, changing, just
but it's all
changing.
appearance.
But it's all,
So
yeah. And
yeah,
it's
the
like,
more that's seen, the more okay it is.
yeah,
It
the
all
more
is.
okay it is. But
Yeah.
being rooted, like deeply rooted in the one thing that doesn't. And
Yes.
that's where,
And you already are.
and I already am. And that's where the
Yeah.
difference is, right? That's where,
Everybody already is. They just don't
right?
know it. Yeah. They just don't
And that's
they
the
just have
difference.
they do know it. They just have like an illusion blocking the full seeing of it or the full
Yeah.
experience of it as a body mind. But
Yeah, it's like
yeah,
the flow. Like it's okay to have this flow. Like a river has a flow,
yeah,
and an ocean has a flow.
yeah. I mean,
You know what I
the
mean? And there
universe
can be
wants
this
to
flow of coming
show
and
up as
going and
abundant.
shifting and changing, but being rooted in beingness and knowing that that is the one true thing that's not, and that's the one true thing that I am, but that is also the one true thing that is also everything else. So I don't
Yeah,
need things to be consistently exactly as they are all the time, that there can be this flow, and that is okay for this flow. That does not mean that what I actually am is not safe. What I actually am is always safe in itself. What I actually am is everything else. But there is no else. You know what I mean? And
yeah, yeah. I think
I
that
can
becomes
really see this
clearer.
playing out here in this body mind
Yeah,
lately in a multitude of ways. And even
yeah,
the conscious imagining challenge is showing me something of like,
yeah. It's
you know,
weirdly powerful. Yeah, it's
I didn't even notice
weirdly
it until
powerful.
yesterday. I really
Yeah,
didn't. And
I
it was
didn't
like,
notice it
da, da, da,
either.
da, 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 and it was like, wait a minute.
Yeah. I mean, I noticed like in the last couple of days you being really altruistic and like donating the money to various things. I was like, oh, that's nice. But I didn't think about it. But like even before that, you were paying off other like people in your life, paying off their debts and buying things for them. And yeah, I'm sure that feels really natural to do, you know.
I think in the whole challenge, I think yesterday was, there was like $90,000, right? So I have, I think in the whole challenge, because it's really fresh in my mind, I spent $30,000 personally to get me out of debt, my own personal debt. I spent, I'm pretty sure it was $20,000 to start up my business, get it fully up, functional, everything, done, 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 done. And then I think it was yesterday where I bought myself a brand new vehicle.
Yeah.
And I think that was like,
You even
I
bought
can't
my,
remember.
you even, I didn't even remember that, but yeah, you even like bought me a car or something.
Right? That's it. I think I did a little like I don't know. I think I also spent like $6,000 on like a completely new wardrobe just shopping. But even that shopping trip turned into like a Christmas in July where I was buying for other
For
people.
other people too.
I
Yeah.
literally have only four times, and I have a list, like a long list, four times have actually spent anything on myself personally.
So this is really interesting because I know that one of the areas of resistance for me with the conscious imagining in the beginning was this really intense sense that there was something wrong with desire. Um, and that yeah, that I wasn't ready for this. Like I wasn't selfless enough to like like when I had things surface like, I really want to meet somebody and fall in love and um have a partner. There was like a judgment of that. Like, well, that's so like that's not spiritual. That's what it would be. I would have these desires surface and it would feel like it was coming from an egoic place, like feeling like, well, I just want to and well, and like specifically um yeah. And so this was helpful is that's why it was helpful to see that the desires themselves, like they're surfacing for a reason. They're surfacing because it's already going to happen. And but it felt really unsettling. And there was a lot of other things like yeah, just wanting material abundance, wanting to not have to worry about money, not wanting to have to um um yeah, just wanting to have like I don't know. It was like yeah, there was a lot of sense of like yeah, I don't like looking at this because it's showing me that I have too many desires. I want too much. There's no way I can have all of that and it's not spiritual. It's not um but all of that was just like mental activity, it's not um it was helpful watching Helen's videos on desire because it clarified like what it even is. Like we wouldn't desire things that were not actually for the good of everyone, especially like at this point.
Yeah.
But there's something self-protective that does come in. And for me, so that's why I was able to like see that belief of it's not safe to expect good things to happen, and specifically for good things to happen for me, like for this body mind, like for this so-called life. Like there was a sense of like I'm not a part of this. And so that was like I didn't realize how much that was an unconscious belief from very, very young. There was this sense of being overlooked, being neglected. There was a fear, really strong fear of abandonment, of being unloved and unlovable. And there was this feeling of like, well, that's the truth, that's what I experienced. Like, so that's where there was that sense of like, but that's what I've experienced. Like, I don't know how to not believe in that if that's what has always been the case,
Mm.
but with these direct teachings every day of doing like the dissolving the doer challenge, for example, it just became more and more clear and more like accepted that that actually can be disregarded. And that's like such a 180 for the mind. It's so the opposite. But you're learning to kind of disregard what the mind is doing. Like the mind can be, that's where like something like Louise's thing of give the mind its day in court,
Yeah.
just like however many pages of your journal, like I have pages in my journal that's just me completely freaking out and swearing and like I like hating everything and just like letting it like this isn't fair, this isn't safe, I don't like this feels horrible. Like there would even be like, are they all just lying to me? Like all of these spiritual
Yeah.
teachers that I revere, it's like, and you were with me that night when I was just like, it just feels like bullshit. It feels like bullshit. And I just kept saying that because it was like, um, because it just was like that just needed to surface and be seen and to be okay, to not there is like what you're describing of where the spaciousness was there, even in like that had to happen several times before it was really sinking in. But like every time that happened and had a complete freak out, the spaciousness didn't go anywhere. Like there was no abandonment, there was no rejection. In fact, it's the total opposite. There's a total allowing. And that is what we really are. That is what reality actually is a total, it's like what Helen says, the one thing the infinite self can't do is um push something away or not show up for something, like not be there. Like well, the only thing being can't do is not be, like
Yeah.
it's just there, it's all here for a reason. If there's any rejection, it's coming from the mind. Any pushing away is coming from the mind. And the more clearly that's seen, the more something softens and it's just happening on its own. And we're just watching it happen. And more we see that we're only watching, we're just witnessing it. And that's what when it can be held so much more lightly, it does
And
something
it's
switches
completely
over.
neutral. There's nothing about formlessness that is not totally encompassing, totally accepting. It has
Yeah,
no preference whether something's coming or going, how it's showing up in the moment, whether it's a plant, a person, a feeling, a
yeah,
sensation, a good ad, a bad act. You know what I mean? There's no good or
yeah,
bad. Like it's completely and
yeah,
utterly neutral. And the mind also cannot understand neutrality like that.
exactly. Yeah,
It
it's
just
always
can't
got
because
an
it's
opinion.
dual.
Yeah,
It's always got an opinion.
it's
It
always going to
always has a
compartmentalize.
preference. It always has a label, you know. Um, and I think that's also something that's deepening here, with that. This
Yes, I can tell. Yeah,
what does it really mean to be completely neutral, to be completely okay with everything, the coming and going, the flowing, the fact that something's here or it's not here? Like what does it, I think that's also part of what's playing out here, for me is also like what does it really mean to be completely neutral, even with mind activity, even with feelings
yeah,
and sensations being present? What does
yeah,
it actually mean to be completely neutral when even that is playing out?
yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
mean?
That's
um
powerful.
I think that's part of what also like what's going on here in this, the noticing of the essence of
Yeah,
things becoming
yeah,
more
yeah. There's
prominent, the
no efforting.
tangibility. Just no, there's none.
Yeah,
Like
there's no efforting required to achieve a state of neutrality. We are already that.
yeah.
That was something that I didn't understand for a long time because it was like,
And what does that even
um,
mean? Like what does that even mean to be so completely neutral about things and
yeah,
just having the intention to having the intention to even want to understand what that is. Like the
Yeah,
mind's not
that
going to be
intention is
understand it,
everything.
but that intention to like to live from that place that I am. You
Yeah,
know, that is already neutral, but to live as that, what does that even look like? You know,
yeah,
that's like a complete that's a complete untanglement of everything. And then I
yeah,
know like when I have, because I still do pray. I know I'm not praying to anything, you know what I mean? But I still feel the call to pray. And I know when I have, like, one of the things that I have often said is that I pray to be completely undetached from all entanglements, you know, to live freely in that way.
yeah,
And that's really to the core of it is that,
yeah. I mean, we wouldn't be here if
to
that
be
wasn't our deepest
completely
desire to live as the
neutral.
self. Yeah,
To be completely neutral as the self is to be unentangled from everything and being okay, not okay. It's just a state of being that there is a
yeah. And we
flow
already
and to
are.
be
We
with that
already
flow.
are unentangled. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just the allowing the dissolving of all of the illusion that says otherwise. Or
Hmm.
I'll be right back.
Speaking of, yeah, go
Hold
ahead.
on, I can still hear you.
I'm gonna load our video while you're
Okay,
away.
I can still hear you.
Let me see if I can find it. Because I saw it like maybe a week ago, and it's
Is it
still in
Gandhi?
the for yeah, it's Gunga G, of course. But it was, man,
Love her.
it was so profound for me to actually share this. How did I? Oh, there we go. Okay, it's in my YouTube. There she is.
Yeah, I still think all the time of her teaching about the not going to the oasis or not going to the mirage rather anymore. Um, because yeah, doubt was such such a prominent mental pattern, has been such a prominent mental pattern. It just gave me a new way to view it.
All right, I have two that I want to share with you, but I'll share this one. There's two that I saw that I actually wanted to. There's one called the direct experience of certainty, and the other one is how we keep identifying with our ego.
How we keep what with our ego?
Identifying.
Oh, okay,
And
nice.
that's the one
Yeah.
I'm going to share.
Hi,
Can you see it?
Yep.
they'll fix that. Just now you have been talking about, I love the words that you use, the mind being cradled by the consciousness. But the question I have is, I know for a fact, it's certain that this personal entity, this individuality is really non-existent.
Oh, how
That's
can you know that?
100% known. But here's the
But
time.
wait, before you do a but, how is it possible to know? How is it possible for this to come from an apparent individual? This is the mystery, the beautiful resolution of this mystery of being. That an individual can say, I know for a fact the individual does not exist. This is thrilling. This is the paradox. So the mind will have it that cannot be. But the truth is, yes, it is. So
Okay.
wait, before you, let's just revel in that. This is, you know this with such confidence and such clarity. Let this just reverberate out. Let someone else drink of this confidence. because it is known in the core by everyone. And the role that we can play in one another's lives is recognizing that and confirming that and deepening in that.
Yeah.
So here comes the deepening.
Okay. Now here's the dilemma. I cannot tell my dilemma, but here's the dilemma.
Dilemma, okay.
Dilemma. Now, the thoughts that come into the mind,
Yes.
sometimes are very powerful,
Yes.
and I sometimes get completely carried away.
Mm.
And
Like going to a good movie.
I completely forget everything that I have done, all this meditation and all the reading that I have done is completely forgotten.
Yes,
And
then we're talking really a good movie. Or else it's just, it's you're watching it out of the corner of your eye, but this is like real theater then.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, it is a movie, but again, but the things, because of the fact that I completely get carried away, and I don't like the things that sometimes that happens.
Yes.
And looking back at it, how could I have possibly done it? I mean, how could I have completely identified with my thoughts or my desires and completely forgotten?
This is what you have to see. How? Yeah. How did you do it? Because there is a how to that.
Yes.
There's no how to surrender, but there is a how to how there is identification.
Yeah, correct.
Excellent.
Right. Yeah. How did I get identified? How? Yes, how? Tell me how. And it was.
So I can tell you the pattern that would exist here.
Okay, but here's also the question that I have: is this identification also coming from consciousness?
Yes.
It is.
Yes.
So it's not my fault.
It is your fault.
It is my fault.
Because fault also comes from consciousness.
Okay.
That's the slippery way out. Since it's all consciousness, well, hey, do what we want to do. It's not like that.
Okay.
That's a trick of the mind. You have a very intelligent mind.
Okay.
That's both a blessing and a curse.
Yeah.
A blessing in that there can be a deep, deep drinking. And the curse is that deep drinking, then there can be, the mind is trained to be slippery, find a way around to say,
Right.
So I still get to do what I want.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right.
So what do you want? What do you really finally want? Really?
Well, I was listening to a video of yours about a year or two or 3 years ago, and that's when I actually came to know about you. And it was very strange. The first time I saw your video, it was so attractive. The things that you said it was as if me talking.
Yes.
It was exactly like me, talking. Something was happening, but it was so beautiful. But anyway, I think you talked about being vigilant.
Yes, that's right. That's what we're talking about here.
Right. And how can I be vigilant?
Yes.
Because again, if I have to be vigilant, there has to be some effort involved.
Only if it is you doing vigilance. And then this is still the property of the mind.
Right.
But who are you? If you are not this individual, who are you?
I cannot describe myself.
Yes.
I don't know how to describe myself.
Well, I will name you then.
Okay.
Consciousness.
Okay.
Awareness.
Okay.
Is awareness ever asleep?
During deep sleep, I'm not aware.
You're aware that you're in deep sleep because the next morning you can say, I was in deep sleep.
Right, but at that instant of deep sleep,
there's no thing to be aware of then, right?
Right.
In deep sleep, there are no phenomena appearing.
Right.
There are no dream bodies. There are no body sensations.
Yes.
But there is a knowing that you're in deep sleep because you can recall you were in deep sleep.
Okay.
Without any reference point to any phenomena.
Right.
So vigilance is the very nature of awareness. Keeping vigil.
Right.
Very nature. The moment that there's effort for vigilance, then the mind has co-opted the vigilance.
Okay.
And there's bound to be then the dropping of vigilance. They go together.
Okay.
There's still an identification of yourself as your mind with your mind activity.
Okay.
You're not separate from your mind activity, but you are more than your mind activity. The particular mind activity that you're speaking of appears and it disappears.
Right.
But you, as you truly are always here. Always. So if you look back now to one of those times, one of those instances where you got totally identified
Right.
with the drama, with the movie.
Right.
This, and Louise, this is the answer to your question too. And then you didn't like
Right.
the behavior that came out of that.
Right.
So in looking back, can you just take a moment and look back?
Yes.
Can you see the moment that you left the truth in your mind and identified with the drama? There is a particular, well, there are lots of moments leading into it,
Right.
but there's a moment where there's a choice. It comes with the speed of light, but did you see in the paper today they've even stopped light? So the speed of light is not what it used to be. So the ego appears, which is false identification, appears with the speed of light, but you are present as it appears. So you are present as it appears. So when you look back in your mind to that moment,
Okay.
what occurred?
It looks like the identification just happened, and
I understand it looks like
Yes.
that, but I'm asking you, are you a scientist?
I'm an engineer.
An engineer? Okay.
Yes.
I'm asking you to look a little closer at the really small mechanism. Because you look from the outside and it's like, oh boy, that just happened. Like
Yes.
that wheel just started turning.
Right.
But if you look a little closer, you see, aha, the wheel didn't just start turning. There was a little thing here and a little thing there and that thing. And then the wheel, the momentum got it going. So I'm asking you now to look deeper. What some pattern fueled by some emotion,
Right.
accompanied by some thought.
It's probably it looks like the past tendencies.
And what is this past tendency?
It is a habit that might have developed through the years.
Yes, but I'm saying, how did this habit get chosen in this particular incident? So maybe it just appears out of the past momentum.
Right.
But there is a moment, it seems like it's a sliver of time. But if you actually put your magnifying glass on it, which is consciousness, you
Right.
will see in slow motion there were many choices.
Yes.
So first there is the emotion, which is big. And then there is a choice to indulge that emotion or repress that emotion. And you have chosen both in different times.
Right.
And you repress it and then it squeezes out in some other time.
Right.
Or you indulge it and then you dramatize it out.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because this is not, it is particular in this case, but it's universal. Because it has seemed to be having its own momentum. I'm just being who I am. Then there's not a questioning of really, who you are is radiant, aware consciousness. You are now being who you think you are. And this thought of who you are, as you say, has been built up in the past millions of years. So it has a force, it has a power,
Yes.
but you are consciousness.
Yes.
You are consciousness, so you can examine in the most minute detail the choices of acting out, just like this man was speaking of, listening to the same old thoughts. So here is this very familiar pattern, and it comes in blowing horns. You know it's coming in. You feel it in your body. You're starting to think those thoughts again.
Yes.
You're feeling either self-righteous or blame. I don't know what your particular pattern is. I'm using a kind of anger pattern as an example. And then you are justified in doing whatever you do. Right?
Yes.
Very familiar.
Yeah.
Does this apply to anybody out there? And then in the looking back, it's like, well, I don't know what happened. It just happened. But when there's a desire to know what happened, and that's what I'm hearing you speak, and that's what you wrote me about, then there is the possibility to see there was a choosing of consciousness to re-identify with some old, dead movie. I say it's old and dead because you don't have the desire to identify with it anymore. It really doesn't thrill you anymore, except maybe in the moment. You see the destruction of it.
Yes.
You see how it bleeds the life energy from you and people around you.
Yes.
And you see how it uses up the creative force of your life. So it's old and dead. That's where your power to see exactly where you are choosing to re-identify comes from.
So at a certain point in time, I do have a choice.
Yes, don't
I
you?
do have a choice.
Yes. Don't you? Look back.
But if I'm very vigilant, if I'm extremely
Well, forget
vigilant,
that, because we're not talking about you being
Right.
very vigilant.
Exactly,
because
because-
we're talking about you weren't very vigilant.
Exactly,
Which it's very skillful means to assume you won't be very vigilant.
Yeah.
So then you say, okay, I wasn't vigilant. Let us see how it was. There was a re-identification, because there is not re-identification if there is vigilance. And if there is not vigilance, then there is something to learn. And what you can learn, what is learnable, is the ABC of how you re-identify. You can't learn the self. You can't learn consciousness. You can't learn love. You can't learn trust. But you can learn how you deny that, because there are techniques, there are strategies. There is either indulgence or repression. And with both of those, there is an avoidance of simply experiencing the immensity of the moment, the power of the moment, where everything in your past is saying, attack. There is this power, this force that if it is experienced, is then a force of light, a force of love, a force of consciousness meeting itself here, deeper than ever. If it is denied or repressed, it's just the same old habit. If it is indulged, it's just the same old violence. You're speaking of addiction.
to a certain extent.
Yes,
Yes.
a certain kind of addiction, a kind of addiction to a pattern.
Right.
And with addiction, there has to be a point where you see perhaps the desire is out of your control. Maybe it's physiological. Maybe it's been practiced for so long that it has its own groove. So that's out of your control. I'm not saying that's in your control, but what is in your control, absolutely, is this willingness to not move when it appears. This willingness to not indulge. This willingness to not repress. This willingness to be in the fire of this impulse of thousands of years. It's certainly at least all the years of this lifetime. And have you ever experienced that?
Yes.
Yes. So you know the beauty of that. So you know, then there was a willingness. In that moment, actually, there's a willingness to die. Because an addiction can be so strong, and certainly the addiction to mind or habits is so strong that there is the sense, I will die. I will die if I don't strike out. I will die if I don't attack. That's what an attack is about, right? Protecting me from dying. And so there's a willingness because of maturity of the soul. Okay, if I die, I will die. But I am not going to follow this demon again, down this road again. So this is the mind, but it's the mind being in service to what was betrayed. The vigilance was betrayed. So it's the mind being humbled, and then it is feels like a descent into hell. Because with any addiction, the impulse is so strong to get rid of the craving, to get rid of the fire. How? And there are millions of ways how. But instead to not get rid of it, not go numb with it, to let it burn, burn, burn. This is the fire. This is what Buddha goes through with all the temptations. This is Christ in the desert. This is, everyone has to experience this. Oh my God, I'm dying. Okay, I'm dying. I surrender. I surrender. And there's peace. And there's freedom. And you recognize what never left. Always here. And there's also a break in a habit pattern. It doesn't have the hold on you. It may reappear, but there is something bigger than the habit pattern. You follow this?
Yeah.
Yes, because you have an experience of it. So still I want you to recognize that there are many moments before the acting out. Many choices. They happen very, very fast.
Yes.
But if you will slow them down in your mind, just slow the film down of this movie, you will see, aha, yeah. And there's a justification that comes. And there's a kind of thrill of the adrenaline and the power that comes with it. And there's a kind of quick excuse making. And well, so-and-so did, or it doesn't matter, or we're all one, it's still self, or well, my guru did, or da-da-da-da. All of that, it's all thought, to not follow any of it. Because it's all the sirens saying, come, come, come back into where you are all powerful, where you are in control, where you are God, where you get to say what happens. And don't move. Don't move. And there is an exquisite experience that can never be taken from you that is revealed.
Yeah, but those moments have happened. Those things have
Yes.
come back. It can be a pattern, as you said. It's a conditional pattern that is coming back.
Yes, good.
Yeah.
Then
and it's
it
coming
means
back.
there is something that still is unseen, which
Yeah.
is even more deeply humbling for the mind. Because that's all we're speaking of, is a humbling for the mind. That's what the fire is. The fire is the resistance, the friction of the mind constantly seeking control of this particular situation. And the refusal to follow the mind then creates a certain fire burning. And if it comes back, well, good. There must be more here to see.
But there's a lot of suffering at that moment.
Yes, but it is conscious suffering. It is conscious suffering. This is very different than from delaying the suffering and following, indulging, and discharging the suffering, and then the suffering is spread out over time. Then there's still the suffering of the misidentification. Someone was telling me, I've never really read Dante's Divine Comedy except in pieces, but they were telling me about over hell is abandon hope, all ye who enter here. And so I used to say that to people, and then I said, where does that come from? And somebody said, well, that's over hell. And I thought, oh, I better stop saying that. Nobody's going to understand what I'm talking about. But that's the truth. To get to paradise, there has to be a descent into the hell that has been created by mind. Let's say not even your mind, your parents' mind, the genetics that fed into the creation of this particular hell. The descent into that so that you recognize you are more than that. It is a scary descent. And there is the tendency to go, no, I don't have to do that, it's all self. Oh, no, it doesn't matter, it's all just a movie. Well, that's great if it's true. But if that's just a strategy or a covering, and the habit patterns continue, then what have you got to lose? It's all self. What have you got to lose discovering that in fact, in the midst of hell, there is God, radiant. Then hell itself is liberated. Your past demons, your hungry ghosts that have been haunting you and waking you up at 4 a.m. and criticizing and self-hatred and torture, they are liberated. That's what gets liberated. Self is not liberated. It was never bound. What gets liberated are the demons of your mind, as well as the gods of your mind. Set them free. You are sick of them. You are sick of playing with them and being played by them. Set them free. That's all I'm saying. And the way to set them free is to be willing to not play the game. And this willingness takes enormous resolve, huge resolve. It's a little different from vigilance, because resolve comes after vigilance has been betrayed, after re-identification has set in. But it is the mind's resolve to recognize the hell that has once again been created and to be here, to burn. And in that burning, there is redemption. Naturally. Not somebody coming in and redeeming you, but naturally redemption. And you recognize it was all a movie. It's God's movie. It's a huge movie. And it has corners and surprises and slopes that are undreamed of, unheard of, that no movie, even our greatest movie makers and playwrights have never even touched. They catch a coattail of it and we fall out in awe. This is your life. This is your life.
Also, if this is consciousness itself playing this movie, why is consciousness making me go through this suffering?
Because consciousness picked you out to hate. Why not? In all movies, somebody's got to suffer. What kind of story is it if there's no suffering? Would you really be interested if there's no suffering? So what happens then is, but the suffering and the resistance to the suffering are one and the same. The resolution occurs when there is suffering. Isn't this what the Buddha said? Life is suffering. And there's a way out. And the way out is in. Directly, consciously. Meet the suffering. Even Christ said this, if you know how to suffer, you do not suffer. So if you will know how it is you suffer, you do not suffer. But this must be known. Rather than, see, even the question why is an avoidance of knowing how it is this continues. How it is, right here in this universe, patterns of war still appear. Because that's what we're talking about, war, right? Even though you have tasted peace, even though this universe has tasted peace, peace on earth, how is it that conflict still has its way? This is true of every mind stream, especially humans. War is inbred. And it has gone unmet. What has happened is war has been made on war. And the child of that is more war. So to meet that war within yourself, consciously, awake, refusing to budge, meeting war, you will find peace. If you have tasted it, then you know it's so. If you have not, it may seem impossible, but taste it and see. Just take one moment in the midst of one attacking pattern and don't budge, because under the behavior there's the energy of an emotion. And that emotion is fueled by some thought of protection, or being wounded or hurt or not seen. In the willingness to experience that being wounded or hurt or not seen, to really be wounded, really hurt, really not seen, then it's no big deal. Then the wound is nothing. The hurt is nothing. And not being seen, you can't be seen. You are the self. You cannot be seen. You are not an object. Do you understand?
Yes, yes, I do. I do need that strength to take that resolve.
Give me your hand. You take the strength from me to you. And with this strength, I give you the strength of my teacher and his teacher and his teacher. And because I am emboldened, I give you the strength of all teachers. Throughout all time, dead and alive, past, present, and future. It is your own heart. It is a hand being offered you throughout time. It is always there for you. I promise you this. Okay. You let me know, okay? You write me a letter or something, you let me know. You remind me of this conversation in the letter, or you send me a little picture, and
Surely will.
And you will see. It is very courageous to ask for help, but even in this action, often what is neglected is checking to see, is help here? So you have asked for help. The next thing is to see, is help here? In this moment of the need for resolve. It is here. It is here. There is a hand outreach to all of you, outreach to all of us throughout time. We have great and wondrous teachers from the past, the highest order of teachers. And they are alive in you. They don't die. They are the self, as are you. Then the question is the help accepted? It's dangerous to accept this help. You lose the capacity to deny it. What a loss. Holy loss.
Thank you.
I wish you the absolute best. My teacher would always say, good luck.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah, very
So
direct.
when I was listening to that, because it came into my it came into I can't remember, it just came to me. So I was listening to that, and I started jotting down some stuff when I was listening to it about a week ago. And I think this also has something to do with, for me, what's going on with this body, mind, and tangibility, intangibility, safety, trust. Like, I think it's all kind of engulfed in the same thing here. And also in this um, that it's okay to give, but there's still some sort of receiving kind of issue happening. Obviously, conscious imagining is showing that as of
Yeah.
yesterday. So when I was listening to that, I started jotting down certain things. So this is kind of what I jotted down. There was one that said, abandon all hope. Really stuck out for me. And this burning in the fire, because I know I have talked about that in the past. And to abandoning all hope is to burn in the fire, you know. And I remember a few weeks ago, I can't remember if it was with you. Actually, I think it was with you, where I said that I don't know how not to survive.
Yeah.
That even though I know what I am, I still don't know how to let go of surviving.
A certain what?
Even though I know, you know, who I am, I don't know how to let go of not surviving.
Oh,
Like,
surviving, that's right. Yeah, it broke up a
something
little.
here like
Yeah.
needs to survive. Like I
Yeah.
need to do something so I can survive,
Yeah.
and then she came up and she was saying, these demons and gods of your mind,
Yeah.
and setting your willingness to not play the game, or this thing that basically we call me, myself, and my life, right? So
Mm,
there is this mechanism still playing out here that is saying, I still need to survive. I know who I am, but I still need to survive. I need to protect this me, my life
yeah.
situation, right? So I can still see that playing out. And there's this, she also mentioned, this resistance to suffering, to poly. So when this started, she started talking like this UFD situation really slammed into the forefront of my head of quitting my job or not quitting my job,
Oh, yeah.
right? And it feels like when she was talking about this resistance, I wrote down resistance to the suffering, to possible suffering, the denying that it couldn't work out, that it's unsafe for me. So that's like this denial of the true self here. That's how I
Mm,
took it. Like there's this denial of the true self that if I were to follow what I would love to follow, if there was no fear at all, I would just
yeah.
quit.
Yeah.
There's not even a question. I know that right off the hop. If I didn't
Yeah.
have this feeling that I carry of, I don't know how not to survive, I need to do something to survive, to protect myself, right? Even though
Yeah.
I know what I am. If there was no fear, I would. I would, there would be no caring in the world. I would just walk in there confidently. That's what would happen. So there is this resistance. There is this idea that I don't even know if that suffering is true. Like this desire didn't just come out of there, but there's this war. And I
Mm,
mentioned this to Helen too. There's like this feeling of this war, and she talked about war too, of this war inside of myself. It's like this tug of war. Do it, don't do it. Do it, don't do it. One feels really good, one feels really horrible. But if I follow what feels really good, right, then there's this possible suffering that could happen from that.
mm,
And I could lose everything. I could harm my family. How will I survive losing everything all over again? I've already done that multiple times in my
yeah.
life. I don't. So there's this resistance, right? And then um, she also talked about, um, again, not accepting the help, knowing that there's help here,
Mm,
not
yeah.
accepting it. So I feel like in this resistance and following the mind of like this suffering thought that there could be so much suffering, that I'm also denying the self, what's possible, and that there is help that would come through.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's like when she was talking about this abandon all hope and burn in the fire. I thought for me, I like to talk, for me it says to abandon this need to survive, to sink into this feeling that I have that I need to survive, to abandon that and to lose all hope of survival.
Mm. Yeah. And she talked about how that feels like death.
And it does.
Yeah.
Even talk about it, there's so much restriction in the body. It's like, absolutely not.
Yep.
Like, I even wrote down, like, the suffering that she was talking about, like, when I think about the quitting or not quitting, if there wasn't fear, I would just do it. I would just do it. But there's like this need to survive that I can't. And it's almost like when I go to work, there is suffering because I don't want to be there. I'm so done with it. I'm done with everything to do with it. And there is a suffering that comes from that. But it's almost like I recognize that it would be easier to suffer that every day
Mm,
than to abandon all hope in survival and, possibly lose everything.
mm.
Like I wrote down suffering at UFD is safer than suffering and losing everything.
Sorry, I missed the last part.
I wrote down suffering in UFD is safer than suffering and losing everything.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And I feel like that is kind of going with this theme of tangibility and intangibility, of
Mm,
this thing she was talking about, that there is hope, help. It's just the willingness to accept that help, that, that guidance or that whatever. There is, I see this denial of the self happening here. And again, that I don't know how not to survive and to be willing to sit with the fact that I don't know how to survive and to abandon the hope of survival. So, like, just sitting with just the abandonment totally of survival itself, to just let it go, to let it burn. It's like there's something there that is still like really grasping for dear life.
yeah. Yeah. So,
Like that instinct to survive is so strong. I've been
yeah.
surviving since I was 4 years old.
Yep. Yeah. Um,
And even
but
though I know the self, I know it so clearly. I know what I am. This need to survive that is clinging.
yeah.
How do you how do you abandon that need to survive and lose all hope of
Well,
survival? How do you do that? Because I really don't want to.
yeah. So what's coming to mind is what Helen says in the Transcending the Mind book about the trigger event, and then the thoughts about the trigger event, and then the feelings that come up, and how there's a point where you just disregard the trigger event, disregard the thoughts, and just go right into the feeling and ask the feeling what its story is, what it's trying to tell you.
That I'm going to die.
Yeah. So can you turn that around into a question, into is it really true? Is it really true you're going to die? How does that feel in your body if you ask that question? Because that's the root question. To be able to see that, we're seeing that right now, we're feeling it.
Um, I don't know. feels like there's something deeper in this survival mechanism. If I go into the feeling of, if I go into this feeling of I don't know how to survive, like to not survive, there's instantly a sense of like a clutching,
Yeah.
a deep contraction in the stomach, even a little bit in the heart space. I feel like closing off the mind. Like there's really a deep clutching. What does it mean to survive, not survive? If I were to go into like, what does it mean not to survive? Pain. There's a lot of pain. An immense amount of pain to not survive, to disappear, to be gone. Feels like some sort of death, like something will get obliterated if I'm not surviving somehow, if I'm not trying to do something to survive.
Mm.
It feels like a really painful death. That's what it feels like. It feels like a really painful death. Which makes sense because actually, when I tried to take my own life back in the day, I didn't want to die. I didn't want to. I didn't want to struggle with death.
Mm. Yeah.
I didn't want it to be painful. So I did. I swallowed a whole bunch of pills because I knew that I'd fall asleep and it wouldn't be painful. So there's something that's ringing true when I say that to not survive would be a really painful death. And there's something that is really, really opposed to a really painful death.
Yeah. And you're just allowing it to be here. Um, I'm wondering if do you have any, how does it feel to do like a statement process with that being your first statement and seeing as a
That
way
I
to be
don't know
with
how to
it?
survive.
Yeah, or even I feel like I'm going to die. That felt very,
I'm going to die a painful death.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that feels not good, but does feel true.
Yes, I don't want to go there.
So hold on a minute. I'm gonna write these down. So is your first statement, I feel like I'm going to die a painful death?
Yeah.
That what feels very real to you right now?
Yeah, to not survive is to die a painful death. Yeah, that would be it right there.
To not survive
To not survive is to die a painful death.
is to die a painful death. To not survive is to die a painful death. And that feels very true in this
Very
moment.
true. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So what about if you go, if you just allow another statement to arise on its own that feels also true, but feels even just a little bit better than to not survive is to die a painful death.
I don't want to abandon all hope.
I'm sorry,
I
could you
mean,
repeat that?
I don't want to abandon all hope of survival.
I don't want to abandon all hope of survival.
But it feels true. It
Feels
even
true.
feels better than dying a painful death.
I don't want to abandon all hope of survival.
There's spaciousness around us.
Hmm. How does that feel?
Truly better.
True and better. There is spaciousness around this. I feel the truth of that too. There is spaciousness around this.
I don't want this spaciousness. It's okay.
I don't want this spaciousness, and it's
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
How does that feel?
There's something that's like, no,
Yeah,
something doesn't want to go deeper into that spaciousness. And it's okay.
and it's okay. So that feels true.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it
So
feels,
I can feel the resistance of it. It's like, nope,
yeah.
absolutely
And
not.
so does that feel a little better?
Just to say it out loud now
Yeah, just to say it out loud. Yeah.
that I don't want this spaciousness.
I don't want this spaciousness, and it's okay. Yeah, it always feels good to be honest, doesn't it?
Yeah.
To just allow it. And you can feel the okayness of it, right? It feels good.
I feel like
I
okay,
don't
that's
want
my
this
next
spacious.
statement. I
It's
feel
okay.
like I can breathe.
Ooh, I feel like I can breathe.
Yeah. I
How
just
does
took a
that
deep breath
feel?
with that. It
Yeah,
feels true.
yeah,
Feels better.
feels better.
I am what I'm seeking.
Could you say that again, please?
I am what I'm seeking.
I am what I'm seeking. How does that feel?
True. Yeah.
Does it feel better than I feel like I can breathe? When you feel it in your body? I am what I'm seeking.
Yeah, even with that statement, I feel like, nope. Maybe it's true, but maybe it's not. Maybe don't feel better.
Okay, we can put that to one side then and go back to the last statement. I feel like I can breathe. Just let another statement arise.
Keep hearing the self is still me.
The self is still me. How does that feel? Does that feel true?
Yeah,
Does it feel better?
yeah.
The self with a capital S is still me.
I and the self are one being.
Sorry, say that again.
I and the self are one being.
Mm. I and the self are one being. How does that feel?
That feels better and true.
Okay. I and the self are one being. One being.
No survival in one being.
No survival. Sorry, what?
In one being.
No survival in one being. No survival and one being or in one being?
In one being.
In one being?
No survival.
No survival in one being. How does that feel? You're doing amazing.
Lighter.
Later. It feels true.
Yeah.
No survival in one being.
One being is vastness beyond measure.
Hmm.
That just kind of like floated right to the surface.
One being is vastness beyond measure. Does that feel true?
Yeah.
Does it feel better?
Yeah.
Yeah. I can feel that one. One
Yeah, I
being.
feel like that was like just reverberating.
Yeah, I can feel the expansiveness of that.
This feels like love,
Wow.
true love. This feels like love, true love.
This feels like love, true love. How does that feel?
Like I want more of that.
Mm. So it feels true.
Yeah,
Does it feel better than one being is vastness beyond measure? Yeah.
yeah.
This feels like love, true love.
I want more of that.
And I want more of that as your next statement. I want more of that. How does that feel?
Really good.
Really good. Does it feel true?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's okay to accept love.
It's okay to accept love.
That love. Yeah.
That love. It is okay to accept that love. How does that feel?
Feels good and true.
Feels good and true. It is okay to accept that love.
I am this love. This love is me.
Mm, I am this love. This love is me.
Mhm.
Does that feel true?
Yeah,
Does it feel better than it is okay to accept the love?
yeah.
I am this love. This love is me.
Love is support, unconditional support.
Mm. Love is unconditional support. How does that feel? Feel true?
Yeah, it feels like there's an open.
An opening. So it feels better than I am this love. This love is me.
Yeah,
Yeah. Love is unconditional support.
I am safe.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? I am safe.
I am safe in beingness.
I am safe in beingness. I am safe in beingness. Does that feel true?
Yeah,
And it feels better or the same, better.
maybe the
I
same.
I'm sorry, did you say it feels the same?
Yeah, maybe it feels kind of the same.
Do you want to find something that feels
Yeah,
better? Okay. We'll put that one to one side then. Love is unconditional support was the last statement.
it is safe.
Sorry, it broke up a little again.
It is safe to accept support.
It is safe to accept support. It is safe to accept support. Does that feel true?
Yeah,
Does it feel better than love is unconditional support?
yeah.
Yeah. It is safe to accept support.
The vastness of my being supports itself.
The vastness of my being supports itself. The vastness of my being supports itself. How does that feel?
Really good.
Really good. And it feels true.
Yeah,
Yeah, I feel that too. The vastness of my being supports itself.
Survival is no longer needed.
Say again.
Survival is no longer needed in my beingness.
Survival is no longer needed in my beingness. Survival is no longer needed in my beingness. How does that feel?
And,
Really good. And it feels true.
yeah.
Yeah. Survival is no longer needed in my beingness.
To let go of survival is to live.
Mm. To let go of survival is to live. That feel true?
Yeah.
Does it feel better than survival is no longer needed in my beingness? Yeah. To let go of survival is to live.
Freedom is already here.
Mm. Freedom is already here. Does that feel true?
Yeah.
Mm. Does it feel even better than to let go of survival is to live?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just let me know at any point if it feels complete. Freedom is already here.
Yeah, that feels like that feels like a statement.
That feels complete.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel that too.
It feels much better.
Yeah. It's just seeing what you already know to be true. You already know. But this stuff that surfaces has to be seen from that place. It's like what Gangachi said in that video. If we try to suppress it, it just squeezes out and comes out in another form at some
In
other
another way.
time, some other place. So it's powerful to be able to just look at it directly, to hold it in
Yeah.
love.
It felt really good to say that one statement that whatever it was about not wanting this.
Yeah,
I don't want this
yeah.
formlessness or whatever it was.
I don't want this spaciousness and it's okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
it's
even
giving
though
it voice.
like I felt like how I was feeling was very encompassed, and there was still like no, I don't want this. I don't.
Yeah,
And just to say that I know what I am, but I don't want this in that moment was like
yeah,
I would rather feel how I'm feeling. I don't like back off, like
exactly.
back off.
Yeah, that's how it felt that night. We were doing this that evening and we did a statement process, I believe, as well. And you kept pointing to the spaciousness and I kept being like, yeah, I don't. There was such a strong feeling of like, I don't care. I don't want it. I don't like it. It's not real. If it is, I don't care. It was just such a strong, but like being able to sit, I don't think I'd ever sat with it like that before and just allowed it to
No,
have an expression in that way and just see it. So even though I felt very contracted and I felt like I was the contraction, there was at the same time something more, something there
yeah,
you were holding that and like even though at the time the resistance didn't dissolve in that moment, over time, like something had been seen clearly enough and fully enough that it was able to dissolve.
I felt like in that moment where it was encompassed, and there was this feeling of like no, back off. Like
Yeah.
I don't want this.
Yep.
I don't want your spaciousness.
Yeah.
Just sitting with that, it didn't back off. It just came closer.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I think
maybe is
that's
what I
what,
really wanted after all was
yeah.
just, yeah, I can see that because I can see in many times in my life where I have said one thing like out of fear or
Yep.
anger or whatever, like back off, like I don't need you, I don't want
Yeah.
you. Yeah,
It's a
I got
natural reaction.
myself like
Yeah.
actually that saying those things was just a protective mechanism.
Yeah.
Actually, I did want your support. I did want you to come closer to me. I did want
Yeah.
you to hold me. It was like a
Yeah.
like a knee jerk like protection mechanism, like back
Yeah.
off. I
I'm
got
seeing that
myself.
too. Yeah. I hadn't seen that as clearly, that that's what was going on for me too. Like that. that feeling of wanting the separateness. And yeah, you're right, that's never the whole story, is it? It really is
No,
love in another form.
it's
It's
like
love in
protection,
disguise.
self protection.
Yep.
It's another
Yeah.
survival mechanism. of
And that's
protecting
what,
myself.
yeah, that's what makes the separation feel safe until there's more and more it's seen the spaciousness around it isn't trying to annihilate
No,
you. It's not trying to take anything away. It's not trying to kill anything. That's just seen more and more deeply, and the self-protective mechanism can still be there, but it's just there's a softening to it, I
there's
think.
nothing to it yet.
Yeah.
'Cause it didn't go anywhere. It
Yeah.
just stayed there. And then just resting with that statement, there was nothing forced. There was nothing. It just
Yeah.
was there, softened, and then kind of like a dissolving into what was already there. Not
Mm.
not trying to push on anything or
Yeah.
take
Yeah.
over anything. It was just
Yes.
there.
Yeah, and that's what is free to happen when there's not so much of a resistance of the resistance, when it is just allowed to be. It's the resistance itself, as long as there's something there saying this isn't okay, it's not spiritual, it's proof that I'm not awakened, or like whatever the story is, like
Mm.
um it is still it's still just made a thought. It's not actually true. Like our true self isn't trying to get rid of anything. It really isn't. It's quite the opposite. And the more clearly that that's seen, the more there can be a relaxing into it. And the fear can begin to dissolve, even though it feels so solid and permanent.
I think since I listened to that video, which was about a week, I've been a week deep into that video and I watched it. And I do believe I had previously already watched it twice. Um, when I jotted down what was coming up for me as I was watching it the second time, I think that's why I watched it the second time, because I knew
Mm.
something was surfacing.
Yep.
And then when it did surface, I realized that statement, I'm pretty sure I used it with you once, where I said, I don't know how not to survive.
Mm.
And that
Yeah.
I
I remember
never
that.
ever actually did touch that ever. I just remember saying it.
Yeah.
And then when I watched that video, that really bubbled to the surface, and there was this acknowledgement of it. And then as this week has played out a little bit, it was like every once in a while it would come up to the surface, like, no, like I did not know how to approach that by myself. I
Yeah.
think there was even a desire in myself to, I think I was actually going to reach out to you once before about it. I did,
Yeah.
because I think there was like, no, I don't even this. This is
Yeah.
too always have been there, too strong for me, too,
Yeah.
especially when she used that language of to abandon all hope.
Yeah, that triggered something.
That really, yeah, it's like, what do you mean, like to abandon all hope of survival? Like, what? I
Yeah.
think not, my friend. And then I
Right.
think that's why I didn't reach out to you, because it
Yeah.
was still like this. No, I'm not ready to look at this, or
Yeah.
I don't, I don't want to abandon hope of survival. Like, I no.
Yeah, that's
And
when the
then,
reaching out feels impossible.
and
I
there were
don't,
two videos like that I have watched recently, which I will share the other one at some point, but maybe
yeah.
Wednesday. But the two of them have really stuck out quite a bit. And even today, I was like going to put on the other video instead of this video. And it was like,
Mm,
no, no, put on this one. Like you
yeah.
really want to watch this one with Ellie. No, I really want to watch both, so I'll pick this one. But there was something that was like, don't pick this one. And then I couldn't really remember what the video was about per se, but I could kind of remember what the other one was about. and it just felt safer.
Yeah.
And then I'm glad that I put the original one that I wanted to share with you on,
Yeah.
because it
Well,
did bring up what I have been avoiding, even
yeah.
reaching out to you to approach with, because it
Yeah.
just seemed too
That's
big.
because you're already being helped. You're already being helped. That's the thing. It's the mind has less is less compelling because that's already happening. You're already like the real self is already seeing this. It's already seeing what's needed, to deepen this, to deepen the seeing, to deepen the embodiment of this truth that you already know. But yeah, and the mind can be active, the resistance can surface, all of that can happen. It's all part of it. But it's like when I was feeling that way a couple of weeks ago and definitely had no desire to reach out. And when you reached out to me, I think because you could tell in one of the WhatsApp messages that I was going through it. And yeah, there's just example after example of this, of the mind still having a story of like, I don't want this. And what's been noticed in the last week or two that is starting to really shift things is the seeing this, that it's happening anyway. Like
Yeah,
the mind is resisting, the mind is saying, I'm too tired to do this, and it gets done anyway. The mind is
yeah.
saying, I don't want to do Louisa's Sangha tonight, but am finding myself opening up the laptop and just doing it. And when it's something like, yeah, I don't. Yeah, I'll show up for Helen's song today, but I can't turn my camera on. I just don't feel safe enough to do that. That's okay too. It's all happening the way
And none
it's
of this means
happening.
anything. Like, none of this even means anything about where we are
Yeah, the mind doesn't
in our
know.
awareness of ourselves. Like,
Yeah,
just because
exactly.
we're sitting down with this I don't know how to survive kind of pattern,
Yeah.
feeling, sensation, that that has absolutely nothing to do with, the awareness of ourself.
Yeah, it doesn't
It's
have
just
the
another layer of
impact.
that
Yeah.
onion being peeled back. That's it. But it
Yeah,
doesn't actually mean that we're less aware, or
right.
that something's
Exactly.
wrong with our awareness of ourself, or
Exactly. You're
no,
not
it's
failing.
just another layer
Yeah, exactly.
that's
Exactly.
just ready to come to the surface.
That's right.
And it is okay to reach out, even as an awakened being,
Yeah. Oh,
for
yeah.
to have support in something that is really still heavily
Yeah. No, because that's
rooted
coming
in there.
from the self, that desire for guidance, that's part of it. It's part of the unfolding. We are just watching it. Um, but when there are those moments of identification and it feels like that's lost for a bit, that's part of it. It's part of the, like you're saying, peeling back the layers of the onion. And there is just a deepening trust that at some point that all the layers will be pulled back, that it's inevitable, that it's already happened. Um,
And that maybe there's always going to be layers, layer upon layer, as long as there's form.
Yeah. I mean, it's at this point, it's that doesn't need to be understood by the mind. Like
No.
there doesn't need to be because I know that there has been times that I've had resistance come up to a statement like that because there was such a wanting of just like no more suffering, but there is a seeing that at some point there is no more suffering, even if there are still layers. At some
Yeah,
point, it doesn't create.
It doesn't
suffering in the
matter if the
same way.
layers come, they're welcome.
Yeah, the illusion of
And
separation does dissolve completely so that when those things surface, they're just seen and they're seen more clearly and with more love and with more acceptance each time. There is a knowing that there's a deepening each time. And that's like Gangaji says in the very beginning of that video, like the paradox of that, of having what feels like an individual experience at the same time as knowing that there is no individual, that it's there is just this one being here, that becomes more like the mind stops trying to figure it out at some point, and then there is just an allowing of every layer, and at some point it's like felt more I think it's felt more and more that shift that happened that Helen talks about in the Transcending the Mind book, that each time that layer, another layer dissolves and the shift happens, as it's just there's no longer a fear of like falling back into suffering. There's a point that the mind just doesn't contract in that same way anymore. And I know when Helen has talked about when she's had fear surface or resistance or something like that, that it just moves through the system with so much ease compared to like the days, months, years
yeah,
of because we're not hiding from anything. Like there is no wanting to hide like this, doing this, like starting out with a statement like this and what you were feeling in your body and being able to sit with it and being willing to go deeper. And, that's,
now it's just in my stomach. It feels very open and tingly.
yeah,
Like almost like, when you rub on cooling medicine on your skin, if you got a
yeah,
it feels like the belly is like open and tingly and more
mm,
alive.
yeah. Yeah, I mean that was just in the span of minutes, and the more like that started happening for me too. And for a long time there was a story that this happens for other people, but not for me. And as soon as I like finally saw that story and was willing to question it, then it started happening. It was like, and then the more it was happening, the more it was like, yeah, this is what happens. This is what wants to happen. This opening is there's nobody directing this process. There's nobody having to merit this, like there's no worthiness needed. There's no, it's already here. It's already happening. And the more clearly that's seen, the less, I think for a long time there was a sense of like, it's not okay that this is here. It's a sign of failure. It's a sign that I'm not getting it, that I'm never going to get it. And for whatever reason, um, I can't make this happen, And then at some point it's like, yeah, I'm not making it happen anyway. This spaciousness, this vastness that feels so scary to the mind, it's like um it's already perfect. It's already free, and there's just a dissolving of the illusion that says otherwise. And, when the fear arises, it's seen, right? It's just seen more and more. And the seeing is enough because it's coming from the consciousness that we are. And the more we take our stand there and stay there, it is like the Buddha under the Bodhi tree, all of these temptations and illusions and fears come rushing at him. At some point, Mara sends an army of demons, and the Buddha does not move. The Buddha stays still, and the demons dissolve into an army of flowers. And it's like, at some
Should
point,
look
it
up this
is seen.
story because I don't actually know the story of the Buddha versus what I've heard you say or Helen say from time to time, but I've never actually like read or heard the full story of the Buddha.
Yeah.
And maybe, It might be helpful to actually read his story
Yeah, I mean,
somewhere.
just reading that story itself, the story of his final enlightenment, I think can be, um, there's layers of wisdom there
Because
that,
every time I hear it, like even when you were just talking about it, every time I hear it, I think, oh, I can so relate to that right now. You know what I mean? Yet I don't know anything about his story, actually. It might
yeah,
be some nuggets in there.
yeah, I think
This was really
we,
helpful. Thank you so very much for
thank you.
suggesting even doing a statement process or anything. Um,
Yeah, it's,
as always, it's there's something magical about when we get together.
yeah,
It feels a whole lot lighter than it did, that's for sure. I might
yeah,
actually get you to send me a picture of that so I can
yeah,
read it and maybe revisit it.
yeah, I think that's
Now that
really
it's
helpful.
been softened a little bit,
Yeah,
I
because
feel
it's
like
like
there's
that's the
more of
thing.
a
There's a knowing in the body that that's what happens when these shifts um are able to take place. It doesn't get lost, even when it resurfaces and it still feels really powerful. There is a knowing there that's embodied that doesn't actually get lost, and it's actually a good sign when it doesn't feel that way to the mind at all when it has stories about how bad it feels, but it is a good sign. It's auspicious when um, it feels like an army of demons. It really does, it feels very real. It feels like you're this little contracted self that doesn't
mhm.
how can I make this like I feel how unworthy I am. I feel how flawed I am. I feel how weak I am. I feel all of that. I feel how unloved I am. And it's all that's just yeah, it just needs to be seen. And the more it's seen, the more a shift like that is actually experienced in the body, the more the truth
even to
that's bigger than that is seen as well.
even to see and even verbalize that there is this unsafety being here and contracted. However, I would rather be in this unsafe contraction than that
Yeah,
unknown safe contraction. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like to
it's
even
powerful.
notice that there is something that does prefer to suffer
Yeah,
here.
yeah, I
Like,
know.
you know what I mean? Like to have written that down that, about the UFT, like I would rather suffer here because it's familiar and I know I'm suffering, but I would prefer to suffer here than to
Yeah,
suffer in that unknown space.
yeah, man. That was the thing that really surfaced for me with the conscious imagining. It was like Helen is teaching us that we can have the life of our dreams, that like be completely aligned with this love that we are and experience it in our day-to-day life. And there was something that was like so resistant to that. And it was like, I mean, I did the same thing. I like saw that. I saw that clearly. I saw that like yeah, there's something here that doesn't want that. There's something here that's like, no, I don't, that doesn't feel safe. That feels
Yep.
scary. That feels unfamiliar and unknown. And, that had surfaced many times over the last several years, but
I've survived here for 51 years. I can survive in this suffering right here.
yeah, I mean, that's
That's how it
the,
kind of felt. You know what I mean? Like, I've survived in this suffering. I can
yeah,
still survive in this suffering. I don't like it, but,
yeah,
and there's something that, even in admitting that choice of I'd rather suffer here, right? Even in noticing that, that doesn't make it wrong. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't make it wrong that there's a preference to
Exactly.
suffer in this
Yeah,
suffering
no,
place.
that's
Like
the
it
power
doesn't
is
make it
seeing
wrong.
it
Like, you
and
know what I mean?
allowing
Like
it.
that's accepted too. Like
Yeah.
it's okay that you want to suffer here. And if you want to suffer here, go by all means, go ahead.
No, that's really the key is that that's the key right there is like, um, at some point, I remember like at some point the suffering was so acute that there really was like a wanting to die. Like I would rather die than experience the suffering. And like as that kept being felt, it was like, something breaks open then. Something does break open and says like, um, yeah, this can't be. This has to be happening because there's something that wants it to happen because I am the infinite self. I've seen that there's no limitations here. There's no there's something here that wants this and exactly what you said and that's okay. And it's in the seeing that it does begin to dissolve. There's something that wants even more to not experience
Yeah,
this anymore. There's something that wants the truth more than it wants this. There's something that is willing to die. There's something that's willing to let go completely. And
and part of
um
that is in admitting. There's
totally.
in that admittance to yourself. Again, like we've talked
Yeah.
about this over and
Seeing
over
it
again,
again and
this being
again.
together, how there is this space that we hold for each other where we can say anything, be anything, and
Yes.
be in our raw human beingness. And, just being able to do a practice like we just did and feel safe enough in the container to go, yeah, I would rather suffer here. To just verbalize out loud that I see that I am choosing to suffer here. You know what I mean? And it admitting
Yeah.
in that admitting that or admitting that I know what I am, but back off.
Yeah.
Like back off from me. I don't want you, right? Like,
Yeah.
and then it doesn't because it can't, obviously, you know what I mean? But in that
But then
admitting those
that
two
starts,
things, then it
yeah,
loosens, right? And it's like then there is an opening
it
and
does
then you
loosen.
can really
Yeah.
see, but it really is in being in that raw form of your humanness of being completely and openly honest about whatever it is, even if it doesn't
Yeah.
seem very spiritual or
That's
like,
it, man. Yeah, that's why that has to completely, that gets blown apart. That's why, like, sometimes there is a letting go of spiritual practice. There's a feeling of failure. There's a feeling of like, yeah, I gave it my best shot and I didn't awaken and I don't have what it takes to awaken. And I'm just gonna be here in my broken humanness as a total failure and just, you know, the thing that is powerful, like you're saying, is being able to show up that way in the presence of another person and have them not
hold the
judge,
space for
not
you.
reject.
Yeah.
It makes it more real. It makes it feel more real to the body, that there's like, okay, there is a safety in showing up this way. When I was just doing this on my own, um, like I feel like it could have gone on forever, because there was um because there's before finding Helen and before having you as a buddy, like there was yeah, just like a falling back into that pattern again and again and again, and just like not being able to trust, not being able to believe that that could be possible, that total acceptance, total non-judgment neutrality, like you said, it didn't feel because it hadn't been experienced and I was still going based on what had happened in the past. That is what we do, as long as the mind is at play. And that's why it is so powerful though to experience something in real time. It's like the mind being able to say like that can't be real, that can't be true. Love has to be bullshit. It has to be something spiritual teachers are making up so that we can just like get through life or whatever. That just starts to it like seeing like the it's just it wants to fall back, like the separateness doesn't, it exists. That's why it's so clear that there has to be something here that wants it to exist for it to exist, like, because it's not real. It is an illusion. There is no separateness. There is no separation. So the only thing that could make separateness seem to exist is us wanting it to exist for whatever reason. Um,
Look who is talking like a sage now. I wish we could be on the end of this and listen to you talk. I really do. Um,
well,
when I send you this video, I hope you watch it and that you listen to yourself as if you're talking to yourself, because you are. But
yeah.
just to see like the transformation that I am seeing in your body language, in your confidence in your beingness, and just how you're holding yourself is like a 360 compared
Mm.
to before. Like you're like
If,
glowy.
and if I could show you in my journal from even a couple months ago, the pure self-loathing, like the abject failure, that's where the confidence is coming from, like seeing
Beautiful
that.
though, isn't it? It's
Yeah, I
beautiful.
mean, it is beautiful. That's the thing. It's the beauty is in
The
the
beautiful
allowing.
destruction.
Exactly.
Matter of fact, I don't think we have visited that in a long time. How about we just read that and lighten in the fact that we're talking
Let's end with
about it?
that. That sounds perfect.
How about that? Because that is my absolute most favorite. Man, that one gets me every time.
Every time.
And we're talking about that right now.
Yeah.
Let's read that one, shall we? From Helen, because it sounds very fitting.
Yeah.
And okay, here we go. Ready? My beautiful destruction. I have allowed myself to be deconstructed. I have been stripped bare to my core. I have untangled myself one by one from all the concepts I wore like garments. I struggled initially to reveal myself. Allowing concepts to go seemed like a risk. As each one went, I felt freer, lighter, and safer. I felt encouraged and inspired to deconstruct more. Each glorious layer of identity was given begrudgingly at first, then excitedly, and some even fell away in my peace. Over and over I saw this intertangled web of lies I had constructed around myself to be transparent and false. Excitement turned to bliss and sheer joy at feeling my naked beingness once again. Unencumbered by burdens of self-destruction, I let myself soar. Soon I began to search for more to discard, so absolutely smitten with the undressing of of reality itself. Everywhere I looked, I saw myself protected and guarded from my imaginary fears and shadows that vanished. I don't know what it is about that line every time.
Yeah.
Bliss turned to ecstasy as I stumbled around my life, beginning to disrobe myself more. Sheer passion and love for my real nature inspired a closing down sale of my identity. Deeper and deeper I dove into myself, revealing ever more subtitled layers of ideas, projections, and concepts of myself. I had lost all remembrance of who I ever thought I was, and I had lost all ability to want that back. Isn't that the truth? I had lost any sense of loss and losing at all. What started as sacrifice became a beautiful unveiling of the pristine state that I am, lost in the revealing like some intoxicated nobody. I searched for more to throw away. Long ago had I lost the ability to value anything other than myself. My own selfish driven inwards and downwards to the core of my own reality. Finally, in one ecstatic moment of blinding revelation, I gave away the ability to give away. I lost my ability to change, to become, to compare, to define myself. I ceased undressing and stood in front of the mirror of life. I recognized myself no more, no matter how many concepts I wore. I saw who I was before time and change came. I saw that I was also time and change. I stood absolutely still for the first time, and yet I had always remained right.
Mm.
You know, that one line always gets me, where it says, everywhere I looked, I saw myself protected and guarded from some imaginary fear and shadows that vanished in the light.
Mm.
And then another line that always stuck with me in this book was lost in the revealing like some intoxicated nobody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like those two lines have always like really stood right out for me.
Yeah.
And that's really what we are.
Yes. Already.
We're really nobody. And to be intoxicatedly lost in that
Yeah.
is is love itself.
Yeah.
It
Thank you for
really
reading
is.
that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, we'll talk later this week. And if you want to talk before Wednesday, just let me know. But we'll
Okay.
plan on Wednesday again.
Okie dokie.
Okay.
I'll talk to you later. Love you,
All right.
lady.
I love you too.
Okay, bye.
Bye.